Lily Morgan had always been the calm and collected one. Her friends and family would often joke about her unshakable demeanor. Whether it was a crisis at work or an unexpected mishap at home, Lily handled everything with a composed smile. But tonight was different. It all began a week ago when Lily received an elegant, cream-colored envelope in her mailbox. The return address was unfamiliar, and she couldn't recall anyone she knew who would send such a formal invitation. Curiosity piqued, she gently opened the envelope, revealing a card engraved with gold letters. It read, "You are cordially invited to a reunion of the class of 2010. Join us for an evening of memories and celebration at the Whitestone Mansion. Saturday at 8 p.m. Her heart skipped a beat. A reunion. Lily had graduated from high school in 2010, but there was something off. She couldn't remember any mention of a reunion, nor could she place the name Whitestone Mansion. Why hadn't she heard of this event from any of her old classmates? The next few days were busy, and she brushed the thought aside. Work piled up, social commitments took her attention, and soon enough, it was Saturday. That morning, as she was organizing her mail, she noticed the invitation again. She almost tossed it aside, but something about it nagged at her. Unable to shake the feeling, she did a quick online search for Whitestone Mansion. It was an old, sprawling estate on the outskirts of town, known more for its eerie history than for hosting events. Supposedly, it had been abandoned for years after the previous owner, a wealthy businessman, mysteriously disappeared. A shiver ran down Lily's spine, but she quickly dismissed the feeling. Perhaps the place had been renovated, turned into a venue for events. The idea of a reunion suddenly felt more intriguing than frightening. By the time the evening arrived, Lily was standing in front of her mirror, adjusting her pearl necklace. It was a little odd going alone. She hadn't kept in touch with most of her high school friends. But the idea of reconnecting after so many years stirred up nostalgia. With one last glance at herself in the mirror, she grabbed her coat and headed out. The drive to Whitestone Mansion took longer than expected. As she left the city behind, the roads became narrower, and the trees thickened, creating a dense forest-like perimeter around the estate. The mansion loomed ahead, a grand yet decrepit structure. Its high, Gothic towers pierced the night sky, and the dim light from the lanterns cast eerie shadows on the gravel driveway. There were no other cars in sight. "Am I early?" Lily muttered to herself, checking the time on her phone. It was 7:45 p.m. 15 minutes ahead of schedule, but she expected to see at least a few guests arriving by now. As she parked and approached the front door, she noticed it was slightly ajar, creaking gently in the evening breeze. A chill ran down her spine, but she brushed it off as nerves. Everything's fine, she reassured herself. The interior of the mansion was just as eerie as its exterior. Dust clung to the velvet curtains, and cobwebs hung from the chandeliers. The air was thick with the smell of age and abandonment. But what struck Lily as odd was the complete silence. No voices, no music, not even the clinking of glasses. Where was everyone? Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she stepped further inside. The grand staircase spiraled up to a shadowy second floor. Portraits of unknown people stared down at her from the walls, their eyes seeming to follow her every move. Suddenly, the door behind her slammed shut. Lily spun around, her heart pounding. She hurried back to the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if some invisible force had locked it from the outside. "Hello," she called out, her voice echoing through the empty hall. "Is anyone here?" No response. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the growing sense of unease. It's just an old house, she thought. Maybe the door jammed. Determined to find someone, anyone, Lily decided to explore the mansion further. She climbed the grand staircase, each step groaning under her weight. At the top, a long hallway stretched out before her, lined with closed doors. She knocked on the first door. Nothing. The second. Silence. By the third door, She was starting to feel dizzy. Her hand trembled as she reached for the doorknob. Slowly, she turned it and pushed the door open, revealing a dimly lit room. Inside was a large, ornate mirror, its surface cracked in several places. On the opposite side of the room was a small table with a dusty book lying on top. Lily approached the book, her curiosity overriding her fear. She wiped away the dust and opened it to the first page. What she saw made her blood run cold. It was a guest list. Her guest list. Names of her high school classmates were written in elegant cursive, along with small notes beside each one. Some said things like declined or moved away. But next to her own name, the word accepted was scrawled in thick, black ink. Her hands began to shake as she flipped through the pages. On the last page, there was a list of attendees, people who were expected to arrive. Only 2 names were written down, Lily Morgan and a name she didn't recognize, Henry Whitestone. Suddenly, a loud creak echoed through the hallway. Lily's heart raced. She slammed the book shut and rushed back to the door. The mansion seemed to be coming alive. The lights flickered, and the floorboards groaned as if something or someone was moving within the walls. Panicking, she hurried down the stairs, but halfway down, she froze. A figure stood at the bottom of the staircase, cloaked in shadow. Tall, motionless, and watching her. "Who are you?" Lily's voice trembled, but the figure didn't respond. Instead, it took a step forward, and Lily's eyes widened as the dim light revealed a face, an old, gaunt man with sunken eyes and a cold, lifeless expression. It was Henry Whitestone, the man from the book. She stumbled backward, her heart pounding in her chest. The walls seemed to close in around her, the air thickening. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Without a second thought, she turned and bolted up the stairs, her heels clattering against the steps. She didn't know where she was going, but anywhere away from that figure was better. Her mind raced. What was happening? Was this some kind of sick joke? She burst into another room, slamming the door behind her. The pounding in her chest was deafening, and the cold sweat on her skin chilled her to the bone. Suddenly, she heard a soft creak behind her. She spun around to find the same cracked mirror she had seen earlier, but this time, something was different. The reflection wasn't hers. In the mirror stood Henry Whitestone, his cold eyes staring back at her. Before she could scream, the mirror shattered, and everything went black. Lily awoke in the middle of the mansion's foyer, the dim morning light streaming through the windows. Her head pounded, and her limbs felt weak. She staggered to her feet, her mind foggy. Had it all been a dream? But when she looked down, the broken shards of the mirror lay scattered around her feet, and the book, the cursed book, was still open on the floor, her name circled in black ink. Without wasting another second, Lily ran to the door, which now opened with ease. She sprinted to her car, her hands shaking as she fumbled with the keys. As she sped away from Whitestone Mansion, she made a silent vow never to return. Years later, when people asked her why she never attended reunions, Lily would simply smile and say, "Some memories are better left forgotten." Subscribe now for more stories like this.